BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K.
Hello, welcome to another episode of BSing with Sean K. I am your host, Sean Kneese, and the K is silent. And on this show, I talk with a wide range of people who are pursuing their creative and intellectual passions, artists, comedians, bloggers, and sometimes activists, and I have political episodes as well. And for this episode, I'm going to play you a conversation I had with Sunny Atwal, who also goes by Sunny Atwal, and he's a stand-up comedian, and also he's very involved in the improv comedy scene in New York and Manhattan, and he's very involved with the PIt, which is the People's Improv Theater, which is one of the main comedy schools in New York, one of the most famous. And he teaches there. He has a Friday 5 p.m. jam there, where anybody in a jam with improv is when anybody can just kind of get on stage and perform. And if you aren't familiar with improv or you haven't done improv before, I've recommended it on other episodes. I definitely recommend it for getting more spontaneous with, even if you're not necessarily a performer or an actor or anything like that. I think it can be helpful to other passions and other areas of life. It's definitely helped me be more spontaneous in this podcast, and also I'm an actor as well, as I've mentioned. And also, speaking of actor, this is the first intro I'm recording in my new voiceover booth with lots of sound absorption. I set up the blankets, I got it going, and yes, it sounds pretty cool. It's not soundproof, it's sound absorption. So that's why there's less background noise and stuff like that. And I sound crystal clear. And I'm also using a pop filter, so it doesn't sound as pop if I use like a P or an S or something like that. Yeah, but anyway, I thought it was cool to have him on the show because I like talking about improv and performing, and just like talking to a fellow creative person who's pursuing more than one passion and has more than one creative outlet like I do. And I hope you find this conversation useful to listen to, because we really got into some cool topics. And yeah, anyway, here it is, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll start with just like how you got into everything you do. Tell us about yourself. I know you do stand up, and you're involved with the PIt Improv a lot, the People's Improv Theater, which I guess is one of the, probably, I guess that and the Magna are the two most famous improv and comedy schools in New York. I think even outside of New York, they're pretty known too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just how did you get into comedy, and how did you get started with it?
Yeah. So my name is Sunny Atwal, and you and I know each other, Sean. I just want your viewers to know my name, because hopefully you'll see it in lights one day, in bright neon lights. Come to Sunny Atwal in the back. There's something cool in the back of the place. Yo, they do real cool comedy. That's just me doing some improv. I got into comedy. I guess I've always been into comedy. Like my cousin in Canada and I used to watch stand-up videos, and a lot of them, just would watch different clips of comedians, and I really liked it a lot. And from a very young age, I think I knew that comedy is what I really want to do. And there's been kind of a clear path that has led me here. I did speech and debate in high school, a state speech champion in poetry, national qualifier. And a lot of people think that's just going up, giving speeches, but it's actually a lot of acting involved as well. I did poetry where it was being dramatic. It's really cool. Be switching between being funny and dramatic. And that's also part of my comedy, is like living in between those two worlds. And I would say I definitely got a lot of that from my speech and debate influence. And then in college, I decided to do my very first open mic back home in Indianapolis, Indiana. And stand up to me, I do stand up, yes. I would say that there's other people that are far more dedicated to stand up than I am, where they're going to mics and they're writing every day. For me, I love stand up, and I've done it, and it's always been something that I like sprinkle in my life, because the time that I spend away like informs my stand up. So I've never been someone that went hard. I know in the early stages I did go like once or twice a week, but I kept getting compared to Aziz Ansari a lot. So I took some time to just pause from stand up to really figure out what it was that my voice is. Long story short, that's kind of how I got into comedy. I moved to New York City because I had this feeling one day. I don't know where it came from. I always thought I'd be a California dude. And I was just one day out of nowhere was like, yo, I'm going to be in New York next year. And then I got to New York and my roommate was like, I want to take an improv class. And I was like, oh, I'll take one with you. I've always been interested in improv. And we ended up taking a class at the PIt. And 2 years later, here we are, man. You know, like I really went in on that program. I had a lot of fun. That was probably the most fun I've had in a year straight, where I really felt like a true artist.
And then you started teaching just like this last year. So you only been doing it about 2 years, improv. And
I know, it's crazy, right? I really haven't done improv as long as people think I might have done it, but there's just such few people that did improv the way I was doing improv. And those few people, and I'm talking like out of the hundreds and thousands of people in New York doing improv, there was definitely a small group of us that were obsessed. And for me, I started like, I did a jam before I ever took my first class. And then I remember that same day after the jam, and this was all at the PIt, by the way. After that jam, I ended up going to this show that they were hosting because I had so much fun at the improv jam. I was like, wow, that was so funny. And I paid like $12 for this show, and I hated the show. I thought the show was not that great. It was literally just, I learned way more about Jeffrey Dahmer than I ever anticipated or wanted to. And so I told myself, I was like, whoa, I paid $12 for a show that I didn't even really like, when I could be paying $5 for this jam, laugh my ass off, and get to participate. And so I got hooked onto jams. And I started level 1, and then I just started doing every single jam for every week until the pandemic for a whole year straight. So I did level 1, 2, and 3. I paid for level 1s, 2, and 3. And I was doing jams. So I was doing, just to give you a rough reference of what, like the kind of life I was doing, the 6 p.m. UCB jam, the 10 o'clock PIt Loft jam, the Wednesday 6 p.m. if I could make it, the Wednesday 11 p.m. definitely after. So Wednesday, super free Wednesdays. You remember those, Sean?
I think I came to the PIt kind of late because I started with Steve Wing's group, the Improv Now. There was that meetup group, and then I did a team on Sunday nights with that group for a while. Then I started moving more into the Magnet and the PIt, and I did level 1 and 2 just before the pandemic hit. So like now I'm getting back into it with mainly doing the jam, but I've been doing some drop-ins too, and just signed up for Improv 3. But it's a little harder for me because like I'm in New Jersey, but like 30 minutes from New York, but like it kind of has to like fit with the schedule. But
yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well, super free Wednesdays, they used to have, it was the house teams that performed that day. So it's free shows all day long on Wednesday night. So I'd get there at 6 p.m., do a jam, stay all the way and watch all of the super free Wednesday shows, Jam again at 11 p.m. Thursday, 6 p.m. jam. Thursday night, 10:30 jam. That was amazing jam. Friday, 6:30 jam. And then Saturday, Sunday, Mondays were really boring to me because there really wasn't much going on in improv worlds in those times. And then eventually, before like a couple of months before the pandemic, I started going to the Monday 6 p.m. jam on and off when I had the time. So I was doing pretty much that thing that I was just telling you in between level 5 all the way up to masterclass or level 6.
Well, yeah, and it's a great way to just keep performing. Like if you're a performer and you're someone who enjoys performing, if you're an actor, like I'm an actor too, as well as doing the podcast. Like it's a good way to always be exercising that, even if there's not something like specific you're going. And as a stand-up comedian, if you don't have a show or something like that, or you don't have new material, it's a good way to keep performing. And you can, I guess you can learn things. Yeah, you can learn things for your stand-up and improv too, as well.
And not only that, it just gave me my fix that I needed to perform. Like, yes, we are actors, but a lot of times to do the kind of acting that we truly want to do, we have to make our own opportunities for it. With stand-up shows, a lot of times we have to make our own shows just to be on them. There's a lot of producership that people don't talk about in entertainment. Like you truly have to become the producer as well as the performer. There's a lot more work than just, hey, why aren't you recording and putting up stuff? There's a lot more work that it feels behind it. So for improv jams, to me, I was like, all I have to do is show up and perform in front of a group of anywhere between 10 to 60 people. Yeah, sure, sign me up for $5. That's what was so enticing. I just couldn't help myself. I wanted it. And that's not even like counting and factoring in all the stand-up mic shows and improv shows that I was doing in between. And I actually, in my first year of doing the improv program with the PIt, it taught me so much about comedy and the science behind it. And they were producing a festival at the time called SOLOCOM, which is a solo comedy festival. To this day, it's one of the coolest things I've done. I did a 45-minute solo show called Taxi Cab Driver. And I had only been in New York. That was my 1-year anniversary. So I went through pretty much most of the program. I went through like level 4 or 5. I put out my first 45-minute solo show, and I'd only been here for a matter of about a year. So that felt really good. That felt amazing. And that's what really I felt elevated me to another step, because it's a lot of work to do a show. But, you know, I was talking to people that were like, wow, man, that was so cool. I want to do a solo show. I wish I had done, I've always wanted to have thought about it. And especially after explaining all the stuff that I've explained, that was to me the first time that I felt validated as a true artist, where I was like, yes, this is really what I'm meant to be doing. And those moments come so scarce and far in between. It's just hard out here. You know, like, do you feel that, Sean, as a performer?
Yeah, and what you said about how you just know, like, this is what you're meant to be doing. Like with the podcast too, or performing improv, or if I'm doing I've done a couple like voice acting roles and stuff like that, or writing, like anything like that. It's just like, wow, this is what I'm meant to be doing, kind of like, and it just feels right, kind of.
Yeah, it's and that like 1, 2, 3 big moments that happen when you're like, yes, I do deserve to be doing this. I feel so much of the time they're surrounded by so much self-doubt and insecurity about, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? That when you get those moments, you like really have to hold on to them. Because you never know if people are really going to like what you're doing.
You just have to kind of enjoy the moment of it. It's kind of, it's about that. Well, that's why improv is about like getting out of your head too, kind of.
Yeah,
I think it's the main thing. Yeah. Did you struggle with that at first? Is that something you gotten better with, or?
I think that was a weird sound. Yeah. I think I think with improv, my biggest problem at first was trying to be funny and worrying about getting the laughs. And so in that way, I got out of my own head where I don't worry about being funny or getting laughter anymore. It's just about the connection. And in that sense, it really does make you more present and aware in the moment, just like being able to be goofy.
Yeah, and not overthinking like how am I going to make this scene funny, or I'm going to come in with this at that time. It's kind of like you just like kind of listen to what everybody else is doing, and then what to say just kind of naturally comes. If you're just in the moment, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people think improv is so hard because you have to come up with stuff to say all the time. But the truth is, if you just listen, you don't have to come up with anything. You can just keep establishing what your partner is saying. And that's fun. I like doing that a lot. For me, that's what I like doing. I just kind of come in and I'm going to try and build on top of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like doing like jamming with the band, I guess, in a way, but in a comedy way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also useful not only for performers, but like people in other career areas as well. You know, it's just a way to loosen up and be spontaneous. And
yeah, highly recommend it. Highly recommend. Because to me, improv feels like a dream where a bunch of things happen very loosely that kind of tie in together, and they really don't at the same time. And if you try to explain them to your friends, it won't make sense to them at all. Like, hey, it was so funny. There was these birds and they were afraid of people hating them at protest. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? That doesn't sound funny at all. No, you had to be there. And that's what I like. Cause I noticed, especially during the pandemic, me and my one of my best friends, improv partner, Mike Warner, we did the Sunny and Mike hour pretty much for a whole year straight throughout the pandemic. And we did it online. We started to have conversations with each other before the set just to kind of check in with each other and see how the other person was doing. And no matter the suggestion, more often than not, what naturally came up during our scenes would be these little nuances that we pull from our earlier conversation. And I don't know if you feel this, Sean, but there is many times when I'm in an improv scene and something from my life, some way, somehow gets pulled into it. Not every scene, but definitely here and there, enough to where I'm like, whoa. Because it's just when you just like allow that wall to go away and you're just literally pulling from your brain and just saying the things that are coming up and popping up, you're bound to get your life in there somehow. And in that case, I like how it explores the subconscious. And that's why, and you know, you've heard this term, I'm sure, before, the group mind, where everybody is so in sync with each other. And this is so true. I've seen it in improv. If you watch enough improv, you can see the group mind in action, where they just know what to do at the exact time. It's so amazing to be a part of, just as even as an audience member. It is this electric feeling. And that's why I think improv to is so cool to me, because when you really get into that subconscious flow and your partners are there with you, you really are creating this energy that everybody can feel and no one can really quite see, and that it's gone right after the show's over. It like disperses.
Yeah, it's kind of intuitive, kind of like it's all like one mind working together in a way. It's
Yeah. And like one bigger mind. So like to actually have that kind of connection with other people without having to meditate or do drugs is wonderful, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually, I'm into that. Like the whole kind of, I guess the mindfulness, that's been something I've been trying to get into too. And I feel like improv kind of ties into that too. Just, you know, not overthink. I feel like with most of the things I want to do, that's like a common thing, is like not overthinking and just getting into it, like even with this podcast here, just kind of getting into the flow and seeing where the conversation goes and stuff, rather than having like a rigid, like, oh, this and that,
Yeah, I'm not a rigid guy. Do you like rigidness, or do you like flowing?
I like flowing. I'm trying to learn how to flow more. That's kind of what I'm trying to go with more. Just kind of like the flow of like what feels right, and just kind of go in that direction, and kind of follow my bliss, follow the things I enjoy. Like the creating, performing, and just doing as much as I can with that.
Yeah, I very much am a feeler, so I like to flow and go with that. I hate attention to detail. Not that I hate people that do it. I actually love those people because they help me in one of my greatest weaknesses. I'm just not as good at having the calendar, the plans, the schedule, knowing exactly what I'm doing every day. I can do it to where I am a responsible adult in my life, and I understand how responsibilities work. But internally, it drives me insane. I just love being able to wake up and let where the day takes me go. I love meeting new people and hanging out and just getting into, cool 20 stories. Like one of my first nights in New York, I had only been here for about like a month, and one of my older friends from Chicago was visiting in New York. And he met this nanny that worked for his family, and he pretty much introduced me and her. So we went and met up with each other. When we met up with each other, it was just her and I. We had a decent time, and we started talking to these two people next to us. And, she said it's time for her to leave. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Deuces. And I was like, yeah, now I can talk to these two people. And then those two people and I went to the comedy shop, which is now it used to be the Comedy Lantern, because TJ Miller was supposed to be there and perform. It was a free comedy show. And it was 6 comedians. We went to like 1 a.m. or something like that. And TJ Miller never showed up.
Oh, happened. He just
he never showed up. But those are the kind of stories you remember, I mean, it's a pretty funny story. At the time, it was just really cool to me because there were people from Europe visiting, like they were doing more as like a program or something where they're here longer than visiting, but not long enough to say that they were living here, or they were staying here for something. I don't know what the reason was. I haven't talked to them since that night. We're not like that close, but it was, I don't. But we hung out that one night. The point is, I like doing those kinds of things where the night just takes us where it takes us. I didn't go out and planning to think I was going to go do a comedy or go see a comedy show that night.
Yeah, well, because like the best stuff can kind of come unexpected sometimes. That's I guess it's good to plan out your life to a degree, but not be like super rigid. Like I'm going to do this and only this. And do you feel like, as a creative person, that you don't want to, like me, I don't want to limit myself to just one creative outlet. Like it all kind of ties together, but I don't want to just do this. Like, oh, just do the podcast, but like not also do like acting and writing. There's like 2 other things I really like a lot. Like I like expressing myself in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. Absolutely. 100%. I that's why when people just say, oh, I can't wait to come just watch your comedy show, I always tell them, hey, this is more than just a comedy show. It's a lot more. It's because I write it, I direct it, I act it, I produce it, right? And that's one of my greater weaknesses and greater strengths as well. I love being able to do all these different things. And I like to say that I do them pretty well. And I'm proud of the work that I can do with these talents that I have. But because I'm doing, because my attention isn't necessarily focused in any given area, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm not really pushing in one angle constantly, not just hammering one nail in. I'm hammering 10 of them, one nail at a time.
Yeah, I think it's because like with creative people like us, it's more of like I guess it's the left brain is like more like the intuitive, right? Like the
Oh, I
instead
don't know
of
the
yeah,
directions of the
yeah,
brains.
whatever's the one that's like more intuitive, like creative kind of. So it's like harder to just be more rigid and be like, this is what I'm doing only. And yeah, it's kind of more intuitive, like, oh, I'll express myself in this way and that way, and I'll do this and that. Yeah,
Yeah, with Donald Glover's, you know, he's Childish Gambino.
yeah,
He,
yeah. And he was
oh,
also
okay.
in, yeah, he was also in on Atlanta and all that.
He wrote, yeah, he wrote Atlanta and he produces it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Aziz Ansari. He did that show, Master of None, about himself. A lot of
Yeah,
comedians do that, like a show about themselves, kind of, and they produce it and everything.
yeah. I would love to do that. I already have a theme song. I'm so
Nice.
I'm so prepared. I paid somebody I know to make a theme song for me for my show. I wanted to do a YouTube series and I just got so busy in my own life that I never got around to doing it, but I still have that track and I'm trying to find the right time to use it. That's something that I do with clothes, with ideas, with punchlines, with anything that's existing. If I'm like, yeah, I can see the potential in this, I keep it knowing that at some point it'll find its place in time. It'll find
Yeah,
its place.
I feel like as long as like I guess you keep it like working like a little bit at it while it's on the side and stuff, even while you're not like ready to produce it or whatever. Like right, yeah. Because like I have some scripts I've written and stuff, but it's just about like getting the right people together to shoot it. But like this, like the podcast, I can do just like whenever like I find a guest or like the a voice acting role or something like that, I can just go and do it. And I also do like spoken word and stuff like that, and like writing prose. So, but that's the main thing about like putting together a show is like finding the right people and like the right group to do it with.
Yeah, and that's why I think solo shows are my jam. I never thought of doing shows just by myself, but I did that one for SOLOCOM and I loved it because it's so hard to get people to show up, respond to an email, just commit. It's hard to get as many people as you need to commit to whatever project it is on the same day, because you know what point of the matter is that everybody else has lives too, and they also are working on projects that they cannot get everybody to commit on because those people are also working on their projects. So if you are lucky enough to find people that you can work with and create stuff with, it is wonderful. For solo shows, you don't need to rely on too many people, really yourself. And for mine, these were my deadlines. I had about 3 months to produce it. The first month, I wrote the script. That was the goal. The second month, I recorded the videos and sounds that I needed and edited them the way that I needed them to. And the third month was about putting it all together and rehearsing. And I hate solo shows. You should know that, because I don't like just seeing one person talk. Stand-up is good. You're laughing with stand, but sometimes with the dramatic stuff, it gets a little boring to me, a little tedious. So my whole solo show was designed to not feel like it was just me talking. So it's Taxi Cab Driver. It was about this guy whose father passes away and he inherits his taxi cab company in a time when Uber and Lyft are taking over. I recorded myself being the passengers in the car and myself as the driver, where I was on stage as a driver and I was interacting with myself on stage. And there's a lot of other cool stuff like that where I was recording audio as different characters and just, the timing was I had the timing down back and forth. And my next solo show that I do, you'll see some of that come back.
So you had the different voices you did play on a speaker. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. So nice. I did this thing where it was called the Heaven of Dead Fathers from the Past, yo. That was a location, right? So what ends up happening is I have an Uber driver This is so stupid. I wish I still had the recording. It only got performed twice, and I don't have the recording for either one. It was supposed to go to the Indy Fringe Festival, but COVID hit. And I was going to get a nice recording there. I don't know if I'm going to do it again. Who knows? We'll see. But I had this scene where an Uber driver is coming to pick me up. And the Uber driver is really like this spiritual guru that takes me through space, and I wake up in like a desert or something, and I just have cloud videos playing, and I'm talking to like Darth Vader and Mufasa and King Hamlet until I finally get to talk to my dad. And it was a real and this is where my comedy and my drama, I mix the two and infuse them. I had a real conversation with myself being the recording, talking back and forth about these pressures of a father-son relationship. And then people told me that they cried during it, which really surprised me because I was not going for crying. I was just trying to go for sincerity and real emotion. Because as I'm sure you know, Sean, the PIt preaches that. Real emotion, sincerity, empathy. And so I went for those emotions with humor. And I like that because I like being able to, that was the biggest compliment I got in high school when I was doing speech, is I'm very sincere. So I want to pull you in with my sincerity and then sideswipe you with a joke where you do not expect it at all. And I like doing that shift, the like complete spin, 180, whatever you want to call it.
That's kind of what I've been drawn to a lot recently is kind of like stuff that's like humorous but also has a bit of like seriousness and like some of the stuff I've been working on my own, like, and I want to get together is more on that line, like kind of has the funny, but then it has like a darker side and like a more serious side that kind of goes into it, because I feel like that can sometimes, when you mix the two, it can be easier for people to digest. Kind of that's and I guess I know you really like BoJack Horseman. I liked how that did that a lot, like it mixed the seriousness and like the comedy, but also had very dark topics in it as well.
Yeah, and it makes sense now that we're talking about how we both like humor and serious topics mixed together, just real emotion. It's funny that we both like BoJack. I mean, I love BoJack. It's my favorite show, bar none, hands down, over anything that's been done. Like even in-person shows, BoJack Horseman tops them off for me. And it really is because they draw you in with this really goofy, humorous side, but they show you the consequences. You know, like I'm not going to refer back to everything with improv, but when we're doing those improv things, people tell you like, pay attention and see what the consequences of these actions are. And you kind of really see that in BoJack. And I love that show. It's definitely inspired me as an artist. And I think people don't understand also, just in terms of shows, in terms of stand-up, why it's so hard to be a famous stand-up comedian is because to do a straight hour of just jokes is good jokes, difficult. It is hard. That is why people work their arses off. I've never said the word arse, but I don't know why I felt the need just now. But there's a reason an hour of just you being funny is hard. And if you just mix in like sincerity, real emotion, it gets easier because you realize you don't have to fill the whole hour with just jokes. It can just be who you are. And the jokes will just naturally find themselves in place.
Yeah, I was kind of curious how solo-prov works, because like a lot of improv is working off the other person, but you say that you wrote out parts of it too. Did you just have like an idea, here I will go here, and then you kind of also improvised as you went? Or?
Yeah, so I wrote everything by hand for what I thought would be a 45-minute show. So I wrote everything by hand, like when I got inspiration and some scenes, and then I transcribed it all to Google Docs. And when I was recording my videos and audio, yeah, that was all improvised. I didn't really have I had some lines, some really generic single lines, but most of it is all improvised, including the spaces of audio, because I know myself well enough that I didn't need to time out how long my sentence was going to be, because I knew that on stage I would be able to improvise the amount of space, because I can feel when the next audio line is coming. So on stage, my lines, some of them were written, but I had to, if I even went like an inch too fast on the delivery, I had to add another inch of dialogue in there to fill up that time to make it seem natural. Because my way of dialogue, I think interrupting each other, it feels really natural in real life. It shows a real back and forth. And so that's what I like in my style. And so
yeah, because it's not like someone just says something and then the person pauses and then people kind of cut each other off and
yeah, like we're doing it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is a conversation.
Yeah, BSing.
Oh yeah, this is BSing with Sean. Kneese.
Kneese. Yeah.
Kneese.
Yeah. It's Kneese. You're the first one who's called me Kneese in like 10 years or so. That was like a yeah.
It's good. Kneese. It's just Kneese.
Yeah, Kneese. But I put the Sean K because I thought that's like a little easier to remember.
I just hopefully you don't marry someone with the last name Nephew.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird.
And it also starts with K. It's KNEFU.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a guy who said that to me once. He's like, Sean Kneese should be Sean Nephew because you're a boy. He had a voice kind of like that.
Oh my God. Wow. They just called you out. They're like, your entire identity is a lie, kid. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I think in Germany it was Kneese, but I don't know why I ended up changing to Nice. But there you go.
Well, I find it very niche.
Yeah, very niche.
Yeah. Niche. Unless you're saying my last name right.
Yeah, and I think I found my niche.
Yeah.
This show. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Sean Niche. Sean the Niche hype man doing BSing with Sean Niche. Kneese. Kneese.
And Sunny Atwal.
Yeah, Atwall, dude. My stage name is Sunny Outlaw. I think that's a really cool
that's
name.
That's a good play on word. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because actually, I mean, I'm not the one who came up. I remember every time I would be like, yes, my name is Sunny Atwall. People would be like, oh, did you just say Sunny Outlaw? And I was like, that's cool. And I have an education degree. So I was like, yeah, let me separate my last name with my comedy so that.
Yeah, and I actually think that when you choose another name like that, it kind of makes you easier to get into the character of like what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's also kind of sucks about picking a name, because if you go out and people introduce you as Sunny Outlaw, I literally had another comedian, because I asked him for his feedback. I really wanted to get better. It's the thing about me is, Sean, I always want to get better at what I'm doing. I asked him for advice, and he straight up told me, he's like, well, you come on as Sunny Outlaw, but there's nothing outlawish about you. You're like the exact opposite of an outlaw. You're a nice guy. He didn't say that part, but it sounds funnier if he says it.
Yeah.
That's me lying, but I didn't want to lie, so I told you the truth. I know that goes against the show, BSing with Sean.
Oh yeah, only the truth on here, but not real BS.
Yeah. Only the truth on here. You can do your BSing off of this podcast, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it has pros and cons. I like the name. I think it's like a modern Johnny Cash, because I love the name Johnny Cash. It just rolls off the tongue. That is a cool name. There are just certain names out in this world that just sound cool. Johnny Cash is one of those names. Sean, can you think of a name that you think sounds really cool?
Sid Vicious, but he didn't have such a cool life. I mean, he died at 17 and all that, but yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. The Sex Pistols bassist.
Sid Vicious is a cool name, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know why. This one's like medium cool. This is mild. If you went to a Taco Bell, they would give you this as mild if you asked for cool sauce. George Clooney is a pretty cool name. It's not like a super cool name. I don't know why, but it just sounds right. It just makes sense.
Yeah. Like he's a Clooney.
He's a Clooney. Oh, George, you're such a Cloon. You Clooney. Yeah, he's a Cloon, all right.
Yeah, there's certain ones that kind of fit. Glenn Danzig, I think that was his real name, but it kind of fits him, like Danzig. Like I'm thinking music more, I guess now. But
Well, you know, Kanye West is a cool name.
yeah,
It's not. Johnny Cash is like, I'm trying to think of a name that tops Johnny Cash. I think on our list so far, that's the clear favorite to win this. Kanye West, I would put like above George Clooney, but not above Sid Vicious.
Yeah, I guess it's two different, but they both kind of have the outlaw sound to it, kind of Sid Vicious and Johnny Cash, even though they both did very different music. But I guess Johnny Cash, even though he was country, kind of had like kind of a punk thing to him, at least his attitude in some ways. But.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was coming out in the 50s. He was punk. He was punk rock before punk. He's the inspiration of modern punk rock, man. But no, his name is amazing.
Yeah, he actually did. I mean, they weren't really punk, but he did a Trent Reznor song or 9 Inch Nails song later on. He did a Hurt.
Yeah, I remember seeing the VH1 or top 100 songs of all time, and the guy from 9 Inch Nails, he literally said, you know, it's weird for me because I wrote the song, but it feels like he did.
Like he liked his version, like
yeah, more. Everybody likes his version more. I've listened to the 9 Inch Nails version. I listened to it, unfortunately, after I heard the Johnny Cash version, and I love the Johnny Cash version, but I was surprised at how much I didn't hate 9 Inch Nails version. I thought I was going to go in and hate it. It doesn't feel the same. Like Johnny Cash nails that song.
Yeah, he put more like like you could hear more of the feeling in it and stuff. So
yeah,
they were both kind of drawing from a similar experience, like they had been drug addicts and went down that road.
And the thing that really hurts you about seeing him is because so much is tied to that name of him being this outlaw. Essentially, Johnny Cash is an outlaw, right? You seeing that person get old and the consequences, like you can be this bad person, not like a bad person, like you can be this bad person, this cool guy doing reckless things or whatever, but you can't escape age. And I think seeing him the way he is, his friends are gone, he's by himself, and you know, still being with that lonely feeling, but now seeing like you're like the only one left, and just being old and dealing with that, it hurts. I mean, I love the name of that song for that reason. It does hurt. It really does. Like, we see the consequences of it. And
yeah, it's almost kind of, in a way, it's, I mean, both are tragic, but in a way it's kind of sad in a different way than like the 27 Club. Like they died at 27 because of the drugs they did. It's almost sadder in a way to kind of see them crumble and like they're not this young image they used to be.
Yeah, it is sad. It's definitely, because it's like the 27 Club looks glamorized almost, because they don't have to deal with getting old. But it's like, man, they missed out on so many cool things that you can do past the age of 27 as well. You know, it's a whole life to be lived after 27. But it does feel like sometimes it gets a little glamorized.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
You know, a martyr, being the martyr.
Yeah, that is something. It's kind of like glamorized away, and I feel like it's kind of like people want to search. Maybe some people kind of want that, like being immortal, like the immortality of it, kind of like you're forever like engraved in like in that time, and people remember you. Kind of.
Yeah, isn't that weird? We do so much work in the present day to remembered for maybe when we're not even able to experience people remembering us.
Yeah.
But I'm like that too. I'm saying it. I'm like that. I want to be remembered. I would love that. I would love a statue and pictures and murals and all that jazz. That'd be fun. It'd be cool. It's a lot that comes with that life though that we don't understand. I don't understand it, but I'm sure there's a lot that comes with it that just sucks.
Yeah, and that's part of probably one of the main influences of being creative is, to leave something behind, immortality.
Yeah. And that's one thing I always ask myself when I'm doing a piece is what am I trying to get the audience to walk away with here? What can I get them to feel? Because I want my shows to be a full-on experience. I want you to feel like you're truly in a different space in the space-time and continuum, man. I really, really do dig deep on that. And I just, because you can, when you're a part of a cool show, like I remember watching The Inheritance. One of my friends he bought a ticket to this Broadway show called The Inheritance, and he couldn't make it. And he asked me if I wanted to go. It's just a solo ticket. And I said, yeah, why not? And I didn't know what it was. I didn't do any research. I just went in cold, and I love doing that with art. And I was just blown away by how cool it was. I mean, you just walk away feeling energized, right? And that energy, like how we talked earlier, like energy disperses out after improv, but it's after a really good show, the artist, this is my philosophy, the artist the whole time is working on building this energy and sending it off to the audience. And how good of a job you do, all that energy can go into those humans and it can change their day, their week, their month. You don't know the impact of that energy and how long it'll last with them.
And it inspires them to do other things too, like if they're an artist themselves.
Yeah, like Christopher Nolan, the thing I love about him as a director is he pushes my mind to think about these far out ideas. He's pushing my thinking forward into different types of futuristic thinking. I don't know quite the words I'm looking for on this, but he's pushing human thinking forward. I'm trying to figure out how I can push human feeling forward. And in a different, how do we talk about things that we're all relating? How can we all connect on the same topic at the same time? And I love that. And I want to be able to, that's what I want to push our feelings forward. What's the next level of human feeling?
You talk about like having a situation that a lot of people have gone through and then making a joke out of it, and then people laugh at it, and then they're like, oh, yeah, I've experienced that too. And then feeling less alone because they see someone put that in the show, what they were feeling or what they went through. Yeah.
I've also bartended before. And this is why I like going out to bars, like a legitimate sitting out at a bar. The bartender has different bar guests all around the bar, and not all of them know each other, but everybody knows the bartender. And they're all talking to him or her or them. They're all talking to them. And if you're talking to me, I may respond and then make eye contact with someone else. And now I've created a triangle of eye contact. Now it's okay for you to look at this person and we're all having a conversation. I am bringing you two together, and then I can walk away and you two can have a conversation. And now you two are meeting each other because I was able to break the social barrier of you two not know. And it's just like a constant play like that. So it's when you have a performer on the stage, it works in a similar outlet where it's a bunch of people who don't know each other, who don't talk to each other maybe, and they're all channeling the same relatable energy through the vessel of the performer. We are all laughing or feeling something because of that vessel, and we're all connected now because of it. And this next solo show that I do is going to deal a lot with just the insecurities of being alive, of like being a human, and just the cycle of constantly being doubtful and blaming yourself for things that are not always your fault. Just taking, listening to the voices perhaps in your head or whatnot. I'm really trying to dig deep into my psyche and figure out what it is that I feel is hard to talk about on stage, because it's who I am and I don't talk to really anybody about it. But I'm trying to make that relatable and bring more people into it. And then because of the success of my first show, I feel very confident moving into this one. I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm not quite sure when it'll come out yet. It's something that's ruminated in my mind for the last 7 months. And I keep adding to it mentally. I just haven't taken the time to fully flesh it out. But it'll come early next year, I feel like.
And you're talking about dealing with the critical voice inside, kind of.
Yeah. Like, so I have this bit that I just started working on where I say, Sunny Outlaw, don't listen to no organs, right? My liver says stop drinking, my lungs say stop smoking, my brain says go to sleep, and my heart says be happy. Right? Those are all real things that kind of go on in people's bodies that we don't. I'm like personifying them. But the end, I say the only thing that Sunny Outlaw listens to is that voice in the back of his head that says, you're not going to do anything with your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the complete sheer irony. Because what ends up being funny about that joke is, A, people get, oh, yeah, this guy's being deep. But also, I say, as the voice, I'm like, yeah, I want miserable things to happen to you because I live inside your head rent-free. And I want bad things to happen to you because it doesn't make any sense. This voice comes from our own being, and it is like the most negative thing I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because and you don't seem like, you'd say any of that to anyone else. And like most people, like they wouldn't say that. Like a lot of people, they wouldn't say that to anybody else, but like we say it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yo, my friend could come up to me right now and be like, yo, I just robbed a bank. I ran over someone and I just need your support. Like, hey, it's not a big deal. It's fine. All right. You'll be fine. You'll only go to jail for like a year. You're good. Right. But if I do that, I'm like, man, you're dog shit human being. You don't deserve true love.
It's like that scene in BoJack where he's like, "You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit." Yeah, that was. I like that episode a lot.
I love that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, "Oh my god, other people do this."
Yeah, and see, and then when you laugh at that, it kind of like it puts it in more perspective. It helps you kind of separate yourself from it. Like I feel like there's a lot of similarities with like comedy and the goals of comedy and the goals of meditation, like kind of getting out of your head and kind of looking at
Yeah, I read this book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's one of my favorite books. I think it's by Dan Millman, and they talk about this thing called Satori, which I believe
moments of enlightenment, like temporary moments of enlightenment that people have.
Yes, and it's and you can, anyone can find Satori in anything, just that absolute complete moment where you're so engrossed into everything that's going on, like that Super Bowl catch at the last seconds, like a last minute sports match. You just see everything that's happening because you're so aware, and that most people are just pushing themselves to the maximum level so that they can find Satori. And as a performer, that's truly what I'm looking for. I think a lot of us are looking for that absolute moment where we're just pushed into it. Because, man, when you do your shows, when I did my 45-minute shows, it just felt so quick. I was just so there. Like, and I just felt so good. I was just there. And it's so hard to come to those moments. I would love, like, I know I should do more yoga. I know I should do more meditation. I just don't, and I don't know why.
Yeah, and do you get like so do you feel like there's a place for both, doing the solo shows and doing the group shows? Is there something unique you get out of both, or is there one you like better than the other.
Oh, I love both. I love both. I just don't think I want to be the guy setting up the group shows. It's cool. Like, I think I am a very reliable person that you can just put on your team for whatever it is. And that's one less person that you have to worry about. And I like taking that role on. You know, you can be a leader in different ways. You can be a leader just by simply being a great follower. And I think when it comes to team performances, I would like to be the team follower. I would like to direct, but if somebody else is producing, I like producing. I just think it's a lot to get a lot of people together. So I would love to do it if someone else sets it up. And that way it also gives me a chance to be a friend and meet more people. And I do enjoy working with other people. It's so much fun. The solo stuff is just a way for me to get out me. And that's a wonderful feeling. And the team stuff is just a wonderful way of expressing myself with joy with other people. I'm a real social person. And so I love doing stuff with other people. But it's like you said, to get like a whole team, it's hard.
Yeah, because then you got to fit it with everybody's schedules, and then people have their own projects, like you said, in their own,
Yeah, everybody is out here trying, and there's enough art, enough room for everyone's art. We just got to keep pushing, and hopefully I will do some more team stuff soon. You know, solo stuff is just easier to get done because you don't have to rely on as many people. But team stuff's really rewarding.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to doing a team for a while. It was kind of neat to always do that Sunday show at the Triple Crown back in the days. But
yeah,
the
Funky Funkersons.
Oh, I did the folks about the town. I think was it.
Oh, the folks about the town.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I think you came to a couple of the Triple Crown shows.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Triple Crown. Those are. See, that was when I was first starting too. Did some stand up, some improv shows there. It was a fun little space.
Yeah, I think it's closed down for now, but Steve's back to doing like some stuff now. I think in another location though.
Good. Yeah, it was a fun little spot, and you know what I liked? It gave comedians a chance to get on a stage.
Yeah, and how would you like recommend someone goes about like doing their own solo show or putting their own if someone wanted to do something like that?
I would highly recommend thinking about something that's relatable in your own life, an idea or a story. Like the taxi cab driver thing, that was an idea I had for an indie movie that I wanted to make one day. But I had to submit something within 3 days because that's when I found out about the festival. And so I just submitted it because that was the only thing I had in my mind. But it was relatable to me. I would say think about something that's relatable for you and think about it for like a week or two. The ideas, just let your brain wander. I don't think people talk about that enough in the writing or performing process in general. For me, this is a huge one. This is why I was saying the last 7 months, this show has been ruminating in my head. I am letting my mind just kind of wander. Like I'll play some music or something and just kind of let it wander and see the possibilities. What looks cool in my brain, what sounds cool in my brain. Just really just like seriously play around in your head. If you can't play around in your own head with your own show, where can you? It doesn't take any budget, any resources. Just mess around in your head and see where it goes in your head, and then write the things that you like that you thought about.
Yeah, it's about being authentic too, I guess, right? Like kind of putting yourself out there, being vulnerable with it, like a bit.
You know, I'm not going to tell people that they have to be vulnerable for solo shows. I would say I'm very inspired by Bo Burnham. I followed him since he was in high school. He's like a couple years older than me, I think. I'm a huge fan of him. I can't sing or play an instrument, so I wish I could do all that so I could be more like him. But the thing I definitely learned from Bo Burnham is he puts sincerity and real authentic stuff mixed in. But then there's just also times where he's just completely goofy. And I love that mix. And I think if you want to be goofy the whole time, why shouldn't you be allowed to? If you want to be dramatic the whole time, why shouldn't you? The fact of the matter is every one of us has a different style of personality. Mine is very much one of going back and forth of I am the goofiest person in the room to now I'm the most serious person in the room. I mean, you see me, Sean. You've already seen me in this podcast too, like that, but I can get really goofy. That can get very articulate and very serious real quick. And so for me, going back and forth is very natural. And so that's why I like doing it. It takes a higher degree of just knowing yourself. Like Sean, your solo show would be different than mine. I watch so many cool solo shows, Sean. That's another thing that I did when I get a festival pass, I abuse it. Abuse your festival passes. If you ever submit in a festival and you do not abuse that pass, that is a waste of resource. I watched as many shows as I could, as many of them as I could. And there were so many different styles. Like even, I remember this one guy did an entire show where he was doing impressions. And he had a little projector slide with pictures of celebrities that were coming up behind him. And he was telling one continuous story, but he kept switching up the impression based off the celebrity that came up behind him.
And the voice changed, but the story was the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
That
was at the SoloCom show, or that was at
SOLOCom.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be improvised.
Yeah, so SoloCom, you have an idea and you submit it. Pretty much, is that how it works? Or you?
Yeah. It'll probably be different now. At the time they had 3 locations. It's before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now they'll probably want to see what it is exactly that you're doing. But at the time, there was enough time and resources to be able to have the festival. But it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, because I do kind of have an idea that's kind of based off like my show and stuff, where I do like different characters, like to represent like different people I've dealt with at work and stuff, and like do like different but now that like I was thinking and then you said that whole thing, like how you recorded voices and then played them live on the stage, so that was kind of an idea I was thinking. I guess you can do something like that kind of. So
yeah, 100% you can do that. Bo Burnham's done it before. I didn't think about that when I was doing it, but it makes sense. It's in my brain somewhere. I seen his stuff. You can do anything that you want to on that stage. You just need to be respectful, and you can do any number of things on that stage. Get weird with the stage. My whole solo show was designed because I hate solo shows. It was all about how can I get as much interaction in here with myself as the only resource. Like I had to get creative. How do I keep using myself as the main star in this show, but not make it seem like I'm just talking to the audience? And that's how my show came to be. I mean, highly, highly recommend. I can't get over the imagination part. That is the most important step to me, I think.
Yeah, and I remember another comedian that had on, he said a way to get his stand-up to be more interactive was he do a lot of audience participation, like bring them on and do kind of like a game show thing and stuff like that. Like, I guess that's another way you could go about it.
Yeah, no, that's fun. The way I ever since the pandemic semi-ended, post-pandemic living started, whatever. When things became a little more normal, I started going out to stand-up because I used to write down all my jokes and stuff and go out and do written material, but I just wasn't having fun anymore because I was getting compared to Aziz. Stand-up mics are very different from improv jams. Improv jams are Care Bears, roses, rainbows. We all love each other. Stand-up mics are you done yet so I can do my stuff? Or they're not as supportive.
It's a little more butting heads kind of, yeah.
It's not even like butting heads either. It's this just weird aroma. It's
more
just
like
not.
I want to say what I want to say, like and not listening to the other person more.
Yeah, and at least like with improv, we're watching different stuff every time. With stand-up, you've probably seen these jokes over and over again. You can always spot a rookie. Those kinds of things, whatever, are probably like, they get annoying after a while. So I quit writing down my stand-up jokes. I don't really write down stand-up jokes as much anymore. I have the premise in my head, and I now go up to mics and shows. I don't have a set list. I just talk. I have jokes in my head somewhere. I pull them out as I go, and I just talk because I'm naturally funny, and I needed more of that on stage. And it's funny that you can do stand-up for 7 years only to realize by the 7th year, oh shit, maybe I need to be more like myself.
Yeah. Just like rather than, I guess, trying to just do what you think will get laughs or whatever.
Exactly. Which I guess brings us full circle to the biggest bridge I had to cross doing improv, was to quit feeling like I had to be funny, because this is where being an audience member is important. As a performer, I learned as the audience member to many shows, not everything will always be funny. Sometimes it's just something interesting to listen to.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess like it's kind of a double final question, because I know like we've been talking like a little over an hour, so probably a good time to wrap up. But I was going to ask, like, what would be a good reason for people what would be a reason you tell people who are listening that haven't tried improv and like may not be too familiar with it to try improv for the first time? Like, what ways do you think it could benefit them? And you talked a bit earlier, this is a little different. You talked a bit earlier about like doing different things and not just being focused on one outlet. Like, what advice would you give to creative people as a way to just get out there more and start making the ideas they have in their head come to life?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to answer that second one first. I took this, you know how you can do online college courses for free? Then you can get a certificate if you complete them. I did this course called Learning How to Learn. I didn't finish the thing, is the ironic part, but I did learn something that I really loved. And the thing that it said, the best way to learn something is to focus all of your attention on it as long as you can, and then to take a break and go do something that doesn't require your full attention and let your mind wander. And then go back and do the thing and focus all your attention on. And you will come up with different results, different connections in your brain that will help you. So this was something that they talked about, like a lot of famous thinkers doing without knowing, like going on and taking a walk. A walk doesn't require your full attention. So you can just walk and just kind of like, oh yeah, thinking about this. And your brain just kind of is slowly thinking about what you were doing, and it's in there. And then eventually you snap out of it and you go back to creating the birdhouse. As a performer, if your outlet is something else, if you're an actor, taking classes, if you are a stand-up comedian, writer, whatever it may be, use improv as your side project, something that doesn't have to require your full attention as an outlet. You can just come and mess around and just have fun. So that way, when you go back to your main outlet, you can come back to it refreshed with a different perspective. And that is something that is underrated. Having another hobby or outlet in addition to your main performing outlet. To the people who haven't done improv before, it is truly the most fun thing you can do without having to truly do anything at all. And if you like having fun, if you're someone that is like, man, I can't remember the last time that I genuinely laughed, or I can't remember the last time I've laughed like really hard, you should try improv, because you will find yourself laughing and giggling harder than you have in years. And the laughter is underrated in improv. Go out there and do it and laugh and have fun. You will have fun. It is so rare that people do improv and they leave and they say that wasn't fun. Like, you can ask most people, most people will tell you it genuinely is a very fun thing to do. It will change your life.
And you talked about like having different outlets. Like, I feel like no matter what your outlet is, you can apply improv to it. Like, especially with creative outlets. But even if it's not like in the arts, you can apply improv to it too.
Yeah,
like more spontaneity.
Yeah, a lot of people think that you can't like apply improv to stand up or stand up to improv, and I think that anything that I learned in my life, the underlying foundation of the rule or whatever it is can be applied to anything else as well. If that makes sense. And if it doesn't, I've given you something to think about.
No, it definitely it makes sense. I think like because it kind of helps you think on your feet. So like that could be useful, especially with like any kind of like writing or doing regular acting too, like memorizing a script and like trying to be more natural with that script, or doing a podcast, like having the conversation kind of flow.
How to yes and a dialogue in podcasting or written scripts. It'll help you out tremendously in those two fields.
So where can people keep updated with like your future shows or anything like that?
I'm a big Instagram guy. I like Instagram a lot. You can follow me at Sunny Atwal, exactly how it sounds. At SUNNYOUTLAW. Sunny Atwal. This has been FM Radio 97.3.
BSing with Sunny Atwal on FM Radio. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Sean. Appreciate it. That was fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope I wasn't too zany.
I'm not. I guess Zany's good for the show, so that's good.
Yeah. Awesome.
This has been a BSing with Sean K broadcast. I hope you listen to more BSing with Sean K and less of listening to that negative voice inside your head that I've definitely battled with as well. I know Sonny talked about how he mentioned that in his improv solo show, and I was a book that I've found helpful recently was The Teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castanadas. And there's kind of a controversy about that book, like whether Carlos really met someone named Don Juan and all that, but one of the main things I got from that was like how he told Carlos, you're so wrapped up in your thoughts. I'm paraphrasing this, and it was something along the lines of just look at the wonders around you, and you'll get tired of just looking at yourself. You know, that kind of just looking out in the world and flowing with life and kind of improving life. I'm trying to do that more rather than just being stuck in my head and like self-flagellate or just getting stuck in negative thought patterns and not overthinking, not getting stuck in your head and just flowing. Yep. Anyway, if you want to keep updated with future episodes of BSing with Sean K, go to bsingwithseank.blogspot.com. That's like my main website for the podcast, but I'll post the episodes on Kneese.com and Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. You can watch the full videos. You could see my sexy face and whatever my guest's face, and it's all beautiful people on my show on the inside and out, all 137 of them. But yeah, anyway, that's how you keep updated. And if you like this one, definitely subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. I should get back to recording soon. I just moved, and I've been busy with a lot of stuff, and I just got this booth set up so you can hear. I'm going to see about recording the episodes in this booth, too. But anyway, that's about it for this episode. I'll catch you on the next one.